Greetings, Exiles and Foodies. PathOfExile 3.26 has finally been revealed. That means lock the kids away, lock your wife away, it's time to log in, and of course, toss the key away. With that in mind, welcome to my version for a build guide on the Zoomancer Poison version with a focus on golems and zombies for PathOfExile 3.26. I'm started to see a ton of guides on the internet stating the strongest Leaugestarter for 3.26. Yeah, I could do that, but I'm not gonna go about it. So let's be very clear about that. I want to be very biased. This is gonna be a comfy build guide that can hold your hand from the start to the finish line. And that's what I'm really trying to hope. And I've written all the info I could squeeze out of my brain basically into the notes section here. Now there's a few things I want to go over before I actually go into the table of content here. I will try to keep it short, okay? I promise. But basically I will try to go over quickly the early to mid-game setup here. Of course, I have everything from level 10, 21, 44 and entering maps, mapping mid-budget and all the way for a end game with cluster setups and everything, Forbidden Flame Flesh, Jewel setup, whatever. So, with that in mind, let's quickly swap back. I have also made a early mapping, mid-game and end game items. So, let's go to the table of content because this is what you can expect. In the start, 4 million DPS-ish on a 6th link is the expected result whenever you're entering maps that can be done on a corrupted 6th link. So, first of all, leveling bandits info whenever you start to play a summoner. I could go about reinventing the wheel, but let's be real, Gassy is the minion guy. Okay, yeah, pick your battles. He probably has the best guide on leveling necromancers. He's probably leveled more minion builds than I will ever do in my entire life. So I trusted him. Basically, as mentioned, this is very akin to his Zoomancer, and my idea was basically take his Zoomancer, add in more golems because I like golems, and add a poison twist to it. Ta-da! But yeah, if you want to, his Zoomancer is very viable, and you can basically transition over to this build around mid-game when you start to rake in a bit of currency. So this can very much just be following his build guide for leveling. That's all I'm trying to say. You can follow his build guide if you feel safer with that. Anyways, starting with this. Leveling, you want to copy this string. I've made this string with the PoE.re. If you go to this website, you can basically make your own strings for the vendor search recipes or whatever you would like to call them, vendor search. It will look out for a blue, red, a blue, a red, a runner boots, so 10% movement speed, and of course a +1 leveling wand. This is gonna be very handy dandy for you if you have a thing like lightning, spell, physical thing wand that you can basically swap in. It's gonna be so nice for you to have. So with that in mind, there's something also you have to understand when you're playing a minion build. The first 8 levels of your character, you're not playing a minion build because minion sucks. I'm sorry. Okay, balls dropped. Or mic, should I say. Basically, a minion will die immediately if you don't have life and the damage for it, and other than that, it will basically just get squished because you don't have any regen and you have to resummon them all the time. It's clunky. So just until level 8, go with Freezing Pulse, Frost Bomb, Frost Blink, and you're golden. I prefer Freezing Pulse. You can of course go with the Rolling Magma Flame Wall setup also. Level 8, as you enter prison, you can go back to town and grab a melee splash support for Orb of Transmutation, or you get the Infernal Legion from the quest reward that prepares you to fight Brutus. Combine that with a Summon Raging Spirit, which should have picked up, and basically you will have a Summon Raging Spirit, Infernal Legion, and minion damage support. If you found a blue-blue-red, swap in melee splash. At level 12, you really want to have a blue-blue-red picked up, because at this point you can swap over to Absolution. This is basically what we're gonna be using until maps, so yeah, no joke. It slaps ass, basically. I was very surprised to how well these works on a Leaugestarter environment when I first tried them. Like, really surprised, but really, trust me, they're absolute smashing everything. The links for these guys will be Absolution, minion damage support, added lightning damage. If you can get away with it with your blue-blue-red, as why I suggest you get a blue-blue-red. The added cold damage can be added as a 4th link if you get it, but basically you will struggle to keep up with the dex requirement for added cold damage, so I strongly suggest you go with added lightning. As a 4th link you can get Spell Echo, but remember Absolution is a spell and also a minion, so you can actually add in Fist to Lightning to convert everything to lightning damage for the minion guys, or you can use minion speed, basically. If you're lucky to get a 5th socket or 5th link during your campaign, I would suggest just getting minion speed, basically. Then you're good to go. Act 2, you get access to Summon Skitterbots. Use it, mobs will get shocked, bigger numbers, happy Exile. That's it. Gear, you want to get a Bitter Dream if you can, but don't go out of your way to get it. If you can get your hands on it, this is one of the strongest thing to just slap your summons into, and basically you will be carried to victory. With that in mind, please beware. If you get it, don't go for a natural strength, as this is a chaos themed, and basically I would go for a bone barrier instead. And then whenever we get to the point where we anyways can swap over to the 4th Ascendancy point, we will most likely also swap away from Bitter Dream and over to a actual minion wand. So yeah, with that in mind, other than that, just use whatever you can find for gear while leveling. Basic things like unique minion generic or Belt of Deceiver that intimidates nearby enemies. You can swap it on your mercenary as an example for what you can use mercenaries to. And yeah, basically I've made the link here for the minion unique items, so you can go there. Bandits, early resistance, I go for a Lyra. After the changes to now that you only get 1 point from killing everyone, I will go for a Lyra. Basically because 15% all res is very strong in the start. If I go for that and we have the 60% from campaign, we get 34 from our tree, 30% from our Ascendancy, Darkness Commander, and 15% from a Lyra. We're running a purity of elements in the start for mapping and the starting setup for early to mid. Basically, we're gonna be sitting at a 53% plus when entering maps after 2nd Kitava. That's a lot. So now we only need 3 modifiers with 22, 1 lightning, 1 cold, 1 fire resistance node, and you're capped. So 3 modifiers, 3 lines. You can even get it on 1 ring if you're lucky, and basically all your other gear you can focus on life, spell suppression, more energy shield. I wouldn't focus on that in the start before you get Aegis Aurora, but basically you can get things like spell suppression, chaos resistance, minion modifiers, plus minion skill gems and everything. So with that in mind, option 2, you can of course kill everyone and just have the resistance. Spectres, you can read the why in the notes here, but basically Carnage Chieftain, Frenzy, Forest Warrior gives Onslaught to allies, Perfect Warlord for Vitality and Enduring Cry for endurance charges. It shares your endurance charges then, and of course Perfect Hulking Miscreation for a very huge damage buff. Now these hulking Warlord and Perfect Forest Warrior might be expensive, so instead go for the Host Chieftain that give you endurance charges together with the Carnage Chieftain that gives you friendship charges, and yeah, then you're good too. I can't remember if the Host gives the endurance or it's one of the other apes, but get the ape that gives endurance charges basically. So moving on, if you can get the new enchant thing, or enchant, sorry, it's not called enchant. If you can get the new, I'm not sure if it's gonna be a suffix or affix, that gives a +1 maximum specters. A 5th spectre could be a arena master or a perfect serpent warrior. Perfect serpent warrior have a shit ton of abilities, but basically it has a chance to inflict wither and hit on one of it. I think it's mortar, and other than that, it just gives you easier wither stacks and faster clear. Arena master gives you increased damage, attack, cast, and movement speed to allies. So I will probably go for arena master if I get a 5th spectre. Everyone and their mother is gonna run a animate guardian, so please, as mentioned, warning, endgame notes. I can put more warning signs in here, okay? But yeah, finally, fuck yeah, animate guardians don't drop their gear when they die. I've been waiting so long for this, and I saw a video with Gazi, and he was like, I've waited a decade for this. So yeah, this is very exciting. Anyways, everyone and their mother is gonna run it, and the items for a animate guardian is most likely going to be very, very expensive. So if it is, spend your currency elsewhere instead of rushing to get an animate guardian. Please. Please. Their cast is most likely going to be expensive because you can also put it on mercenaries. Dying Breath is most likely going to be expensive because you can also put it on mercenaries, but these are the go-to. Even with the markets probably going to be flooded with them, as it's a low-tier unit, most likely they're going to be bought up so fast because everyone and their mother will want to have one. So yeah, this is most likely going to be very expensive. You could go for a blood price instead, but this is probably also going to be expensive. Then of course you have a thing called Sign of Sin Eater if you're stopping to run elemental aura, what's it called? Aura of elements. I forgot. Purity of elements. Sorry. This will basically make your ailment immune, as your animate guardian will start to yield all the ailments with the Sign of the Sin Eater. As we're linking our animate guardian to Mage Shield, it will basically be close to you all the time. Eclipse of Solaris will blind stuff, and of course if you mix it with his shield you can get Springleaf for regen, or you can get a Victario on normal or replica Victarios for some frenzy and endurance or power charges. I can't remember which one does what basically, but this can be an alternative. Other than that, I would say you could probably go with a if the Forest Spectre, the Perfect Warlord is too expensive, you could go with a, hear me out on this one, Replica Ambu. Replica Ambu is basically going to share endurance charges. It's going to make your animate guardian lose some life regen per second, but that can be mitigated with a tree. At least 1% I know is going to be mitigated already with this sacrifice node. And then of course we have the Righteous Armor, which also gonna regen. So yeah, now we're net even, and we're gonna have a few things that regen, I think. Maybe? I can't really remember. Next to that, basically the minus regen from this one can basically be offset by a tree alone, meaning that we'll almost permanently be on free endurance charges, which provides some early game buffs that can be really, really beneficial. Combine that together with the Sin Eater here, then we're actually ailment immune, we're getting free endurance charges, and of course you can equip your animate guardian with a Springleaf to counter the degen. And of course, if you get the Blood Price helmet, nearby enemies will have a percentage of their maximum life reserved, meaning you have to deal less damage, and it also gives a ton of regen, helping even further with the minus regen right here. So yeah, that's an alternative setup, basically. Not as strong, probably, but an alternative. Of course, for gloves, this is just going to be so expensive. So basically, anything that can unhit, curse, setup, temporal chain, anything. But yeah, Gravebind, most likely going to be expensive. Legacy Fury boots, most likely going to be expensive. So forget about those for Leaugestarter, okay? What I hope is things you could look into would be Nocturnal gloves together with the replica Anbu for max endurance charges, and then of course you could go look at the Leaugestarter Impatient. If you use the Nocturnal gloves, which have the conduit, which makes you share charges with nearby, if you have the Leaugestarter Impatient, with the new changes, this might be very inexpensive for either power, frenzy, or endurance charges. Meaning that you could grant these to Animate Guardian together with a Nocturnal, and you will basically have free charges for whatever you want with this. This might be very worth it, power charges, etc., if it's not too expensive for the Relicus with the new changes. So yeah, be lookout on that one. Entering maps, this is probably gonna be where it is. Of course, I can't remember if I mentioned it this video. You will be looking at 4.1 entering maps. In the end game, you can expect 15 to 20 million depending on your gear for DPS. But basically, you will start to look away from Better Dream whenever you can in the mid tier. But in the start, if you can get one for 10k or something like that, it can carry you all the way through the Uber Labyrinth. That's basically it. Whenever you get Uber Labyrinth, get away with it. And if it's only 10k's, I strongly suggest to get one. It's gonna be so broken for you, trust me. So, TLDR, Unnatural Strength, Bitter Dream don't match well together. Go with the Bone Barrier instead. Also, Bone Barrier, the good thing about this, it provides defense for you, and damage dealt by minion is leached to you as a life. So, yeah, that's basically it. If it's too expensive and you don't have the minion wand yet and yada yada yada, you can also look at a United in Dreams sword. If it's not too expensive, we're talking 20 to 80k or something along those lines, this could actually be very worth and would allow you to relatively fast get into a full poison setup, basically. Replace your haste aura with the envy aura, whatever it's pronounced, 8 grand, and if it's slightly plus 100c, I think it's gonna be a plus 100c most likely. Just don't buy it, okay? Get a minion wand instead. As you have a ton of resistance from Kiev, I'm not gonna cover much about resistance, just get capped, okay? But relatively fast, you want to swap away from 4-link and just try and get a 6-link for your items. This is also when you're gonna link your carrying golems and zombies together and try to get a 1 of your golem gems. I'm talking either your stone golem or your carrying golem to be the type of the hordes. Now, initially we're gonna go for that. Later, we're gonna swap away from it. So the gem you get off the hordes, don't quality it up. If you can, I suggest you get the stone golem of horde and just use your carrying golem and quality your carrying golem up. But basically, of the horde, set your maximum golems to 3, meaning that you can have up to 3 golems. You want to use 2 carrion, 1 stone, and with that in mind, when we swap away and go over to the end game gear with Flame, Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh with the new node, Leech of Primordial, which is going to grant +2, we will also be having the Golden Commander, meaning at the end we will have +4. So whenever we hit that point, it can no longer be beneficial for us to only have a maximum of 3, which the of hordes give you. So even if you have +99 golems. If you use a golem of the hordes, your maximum will be just set to 3. So yeah, whenever you get to this point, swap away from of the hordes and don't quality V of the hordes up in the initial phase unless the forbidden flame and flesh jewels are absolutely extremely expensive. Run Merciless Lab and above to transform a non-transfigured skill gem to be a random transfigured version. This can basically mean that your golem gem will be one of the 2 other. So yeah, that's a good thing to go for that. Spectres and Skellies, you probably want to ditch some Skellies around the yellow tier map, and you could go for a minion damage setup for your Spectres, but most likely you want to put your Spectres together with your Animate, Guardian, Stone Golem, and Meat Shield, so you collect all those 4 into 1. Next to that, please get a Despair. You can see I have 4.2 million. If I go down to this setup and I disable Despair, you can see I drop down to 2.7 million. So this alone, can I get it to hover? There you can see it. We're losing 1.4 billion DPS just with the Despair node alone. So yeah, try to get it. And also try to get the links, some early gear with armor evasion and some suppression can be golden. Just remember to check your dexterity requirement. That can be very frustrating to buy a piece of gear and you figure out, oh, I don't have enough dexterity, and we will be dexterity starved, so be aware of that. Other than that, we have a natural good block amount, so that can help with survival too. Now, to transition over to the mid game, basically we will spec out of the Alera resistance nodes and you will have to find your resistance nodes elsewhere. This is the mid/end yellow start red tiers, but you will start to look at this probably even in the end red tiers, most likely around 14 to 16. At this point also you want to start looking at a +1 to 2 minion wand with some minion damage. It's going to be worth it because the trigger a succulent spell when you use a skill can now be found from maps. We don't know where yet, but chances are that we will have it relatively fast. If, as mentioned, United and Dreams are cheap, that could carry you very far and save an early jewel socket staff due to 60% chance to poison on it. And when I say jewel socket, of course I'm meaning a ghastly eye here that we have. There we go. Because you want to have the chance to poison enemies on hit on these ghastly eyes together with either physical or chaos damage. And of course, life in the end game, you also want things like taunt and everything. So yeah, let's move on. With this in mind, where did we do? There we go. If you can get the United in Dreams, it gives a 60% chance to poison, meaning you only have to get 40%. That's 3 jewels. That can basically give you 100% chance. And if you get a Darkness Throne with some bit, with just a bit of percentage, this can easily be achieved with 14% chance to poison. So if Ashes of Star are cheap, go for it. Other than that, go for +1 to all skill gems, regardless of what other stats it have. You want to start collecting these ghastly jewels as you want these to transition in the end. But basically you want to look for minions, poison and hit. I should probably add 14% plus. Maximum life, and of course minions physical damage in priority. Darkness Enthroned for increased effect. The higher you can get the build, the better. Should be good enough. This is probably a good thing to keep in mind. You don't need 100% build. You can, but 95 should be more than good enough. When you achieve 100% poison, this is when the build basically becomes giga fun and you just obliterate everything. this is also when you want to start to look at a Manamu case. Hope that was correctly. Likely it will be a bit expensive. It is, if it is just, it's okay. Use your currency elsewhere in the start, but basically you want to have this. Now, I will just be placing it here. No need to. You can place it wherever. It's not radius affected, but basically this is a very, very strong thing, which is, oh god, what did I do? There we go. But basically the Amanu's case is basically minions have a plus 6% damage over time multiplier per ghastly eye, affecting you up to a maximum of 30. So if you have 5 ghastly eyes, this is basically gonna give you 30% dot multi for your minion poison. And yeah, that's the thing. And with that in mind, I might look into trying the Anima Stone, Primordial, set up everything here, but it might be too expensive and might not be worth it DPS wise, so please disregard this section, okay? Please disregard. I have not put it in the items or anything. It's just something I want to mention, and I might skip it as it will be very expensive due to Elementalist Golem-Zoomancer rework, so beware of that. But basically, if you can get a cheap Primordial Might, it makes your Golem aggressive, which will be very fun to see, and it can sometimes be very nice to have aggressive minions. The main star of the build, and this is likely where you want to spend most of your currency. It's likely going to be expensive in the start, but the Covenant. The Covenant gives you a linked added chaos damage that's very high level, give very high defenses and everything. So this is basically going to be a very nice point to spend your currency on. Important. A Falling Covenant is likely to beat your 6-link normal body armor, and this is also where you want to have your jewels. And whenever you get enough poison jewels, this is what you want to go for, basically. So yeah, be on the lookout for a cheap awakened version for all your jewels. Sometimes you can find awakened gems for a 5 to 15 C only. So that should basically cover all the gearing and entering, exiting maps and everything. Now, with this in mind, why golems? I like them. Period. That's it, basically. Most likely not the best, but I know this can do tier 17 very easy, and basically I've seen this build live in YouTube videos and everything, and the Zoomancer can easily do tier 17, and this is very akin to the Zoomancer. So yeah, basically this is almost guaranteed that we can cover it. Also, carrying golems are chat golems. What's not to like? Ascendancy order. Without Bitter Dream, you want to go for Command of Darkness, Mindless Aggression, or Natural Strength, Bone Barrier. With Bitter Dream, if you get a hold of the unique scepter, Command of Darkness, Mindless Aggression, Bone Barrier, or Natural Strength as delayed, replace Bitter Dream at this point with a +1 wound and generic plus minion damage. It will be better. You could go for a Mistress of Sacrifice. In the end game, if we get the Giga Gloves that was teased in the PoE reveal with 100% convert to chaos minion damage, this might not be worth to keep the unnatural strength, and you most likely want to go for a Mistress of Sacrifice, as I have no clue how that's gonna go. It's gonna be in the 0 to hero point videos that I'm gonna make. Whoa, I need to stop my mouse wheel from scrolling. Anyway, the expensive part endgame, I'm not gonna go over to list. This is basically just a shopping list for you. So yeah, but basically 6-link Covenant, Carrion Golem of the Hordes is, if not Forbidden Flesh, of course. Get a level 21 of this if Forbidden Flesh Flame Jewels are very, very expensive. Summon Zombie of Slamming, Multi-Strike, Void Manipulation, Unbound, Ailment, all awakened, of course, if you can. Trigger Warns, High Resistance, High Life, Energy Shield, Armor Bases for +2 minion gem helmets, Aegis, whatever is pronounced, and Bottle Thief, Roomies, Concoction, Amamanus Gaze, Cluster Jewels, Ashes, Quality Gems, Forbidden Flesh and Flame, Hungry Loop for your Animate Guardian, New Glove with Conversion, and Ultra Int, 200 plus Mirror, 200 plus Divines and Mirror tier. If you got into this point, you don't need this guide, but yeah, Mage Blood, of course, if you get to that point, but basically start to looking at Corrupted Implicit, Giga, 6-link helmets for your splitting out zombies and specters, zombies and golems, of course, Omega, Giga plus minion weapons, and Implicit Jewels, which can really break a bank. Now, tattoos. You can still get them. So yeah, if you want, go for Chaos Resistance would be my bet. Replace Intellect, as that's most likely what we'll have most of and what we won't be needing. Flask, basically use the craft when reach full. You can use whatever you want, but that's my personal preference. Early to mid game Flask, I suggest a Divine Flask with Corrupted Blood Immunity, Roomies, Concoction, depending on the price of it, of course, but other than that, a Quicksilver with Speed, Basalt with Armor, and Jade Flask with more Evasion. Ta-da! That's basically it. Nothing fancy. In the end game, you basically want to swap out the Basalt and the the Basalt and the Jade Flask, and you want to go for a Quartz and a Bottled Faith instead. So that's it. Mage Blood setup, if you get to that point, go Google it. There's people out there who's min-maxed this more than I have for minions. Anyways, Pantheon? No, Pantheon powers. Sorry. Major, I want to go for a Soul of Lunaris. When upgraded, it avoids chain projectiles, and as a minion, this can save your ass. A minor power, I want to go with things like Reslava for a Giga Life Flask on low life, and given I'm most likely going for instant Life Flask with Corrupted Blood Immunity, this can basically take you from almost 0 to full health in. Oh, boy, I hit the mic. Mic alert. I hit the mic mid-recording. Christ. This can basically take you from low to full life in one hit. One tap. Mercenaries. We don't know much about them. We know a lot about them, but not much in details, more generic details on them. We do not know if you can find a curse bot, but if you can, this might be very worth it. We do know that you can find a Aura support. This was confirmed by Mark, literally saying he can't wait to play an Aura bot with an Aura bot to boost other people. So yeah. This might be crazy if you can get a very high defensive with things like Determination, Evasion, or Haste, Aura. So yeah, kind of looking forward to that. And of course, yeah, Gassy posted a video about it where I saw it, but then I looked, it was literally on the website. I could just open my arm. So do Summoner, perk, also RIP, GPU. So yeah. With that in mind, this is the notes that I've covered. Now for the end game, what can you actually expect? 140k effective hit points pool, 19 million at my given setup, of course. I will be splitting these out most likely, maybe not, I'm not sure yet, but basically the end game links is gonna be looking like this with 21's gems here. Of course, you could go for 6 and yada yada yada, so on. But basically 21, 20, that's fine. I'm considering or expecting that I will have the Forbidden Flame and Flesh Jewels here for the Elite of Primordial. I can't change this yet, but basically this is gonna say 2 in some time. Of course, your configuration has to be correct, but basically this point right here, I just quickly want to go over the custom modifiers that I've added. This is the end game. We're starting with mini wand. This could actually be better. I thought I made an end game mini wand. Okay, apparently I didn't. Okay, this can get even crazier then. But anyways, mini wand, Aegis Aurora, a NG shield helmet with +2 minions, Covenant, high evasion, armor NG shield plus high armor NG shield, boots, Ashes of Star, minion ring with life, movement speed for minions, minion damage, minion attack and cast speed, Dex, NG shield. This is the dream ring. Of course, a hungry loop. In the end, you probably want to have a Giga ring right here, and then a Mirror of Calendar ring, and of course then you want your Animate Guardian together with your Spectre Stone Golem and a Mage Shield link, basically. Next to that, of course, all the cluster jewels, everything is in the end game setup, but the important thing here would be the custom modifiers that I've put in. Now, I'm calculating that you will hit about 50 chaos rest. You should aim for that on your gear. If you do not do that, that's 110 you have to find on your gear. You will drop down to like 80k effective health pool. So I strongly suggest you go for at least 50. Now you could raise this to 75 and you will get up a bit, but I mean, it's not crazy high, but this is really where you can start min-maxing on your survivability, is chaos resistance. Next to that, you can remove this part as you start the game or start or import this build. And of course, I would not suggest you remove this line if you want to calculate your Animate Guardian item that it has if you're giving it a Dying Breath and a Leaugestarter helmet. Keep these lines. If you're not giving them this item, remove this. But basically this substitute whatever the Animate Guardian is gonna give your minions. You can see if I remove it, our DPS drop down to 60 million. So it's roughly giving 2.5 million DPS, 3 million-ish is more correct. Now the golem, after the buff and the Primordial Leech and everything we're getting, we're sitting at the stone golem giving us 48 increase percent defenses. If I remove it, you can see we drop down to from 141 to 114k. So you don't need the stone golem at all. If you choose not to have it, you can see if I put this at 0 and actually give us a carrying golem, you're gonna have a few million more DPS, but frankly speaking, the DPS is not gonna be your problem, survivability is. So I strongly recommend you keep your stone golem. Where'd they go? Configuration, sorry. So yeah, basically if I can calculate correctly, this is what you're gonna end up with, is a 48% increase whenever the update for PoE Community Fork hits, and this actually updates, and everything updates about the skill gems for the stone golem. You can remove it's not the Primordial Leech, but basically the stone golem, whenever this skill updates, you can remove this, basically. So yeah, I think that was it. Of course, this is for Guardian Pinnacle, and in the end, if you're choosing to kill all, you will be at 95. If not, you will be at 96. If you're really pushing this and going to 95 or 97, 98, the last 2 points on this wheel that I would pick up. Of course, you can do whatever you want, but given we're here, I would just pick up the Primordial Bond. It's giving you some damage, of course, but yeah, basically you're going from 9.1 to 9.4. Of course, there's probably, I haven't min-maxed everything on this build as of yet, but I would probably go for that. Also more masteries. Masteries might be worth with the new runes that you can get around. So yeah, this has ended up being a lengthy video, but there's also a lot to cover. So follow the Zero to Hero guides where we'll briefly explain what we've done, what we've gotten, and everything. This is the total explanation of the entire build and everything around it. But yeah, this is basically a poison Zoomancer, Golem-Zoomancer build. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay sane, Exiles.